Always room for more.
That's true. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the show. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. I'm joined by R. Wayne Steiger. His YouTube channel is in the information box below. And it's time for the Wednesday, the ever popular Wednesday midweek report. How are you, Wayne?
I'm doing fine. Just really, I missed one meeting before this one. You know what? The traffic in Denver is like, it really sucks. I just
Osaka, Japan in the house.
Oh, well, hello, Japan. Good to
That's
see you.
Sterling.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you.
I've been in Denver many years ago when I actually went there to interview to be a pastor at a Church of God Seventh Day.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was in I can't remember what the city was. It wasn't Denver, but very interesting. And the traffic was bad then. I can only imagine what it is now.
Yeah, it's growing. But you know what? The views. I lived in Austin, Texas before I moved up here. And
Another nice city.
yeah, loved Austin. The thing about Austin, though, there was 4 seasons, and 3 of them were hot. The
Right.
last one was hotter and then humid.
Right.
Yeah, as you know. So
Well, in Florida, we really have we have 2 seasons. Hot as hell. Well, maybe 3. Hot as hell, hot, and perfect. And now
well,
we're going into perfect.
yeah, you got some beautiful weather coming in now. So
Except the water at the beach is kind of cold.
really, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And this is the ever popular Plastic Jesus t-shirt, Soylent Jesus. It
wow.
says the truth is out there.
I recognize that rascal. Hello, Mama.
Available at my website, jeffreydarty.com, by the way. Gratuitous plug.
Ah, there you go.
Wayne, I had Robert Stanley on my show last night. You familiar with him?
I am not.
Unicus Magazine, familiar with that?
No, no.
He's cutting edge. He's out there like you and I and Rex. So I recommend you look him up. Very, very impressive guy. His basic premise is that we are indeed in a matrix. It is like a holograph matrix. It is created in his mind by Inky, and that a high percentage of the people that are here are not even really people. They're just part of the game. And those of us that have souls have chosen to incarnate in this Universal Studios for souls. And very, very interesting. I know I'm oversimplifying it and not giving it justice, but he also talked about the Las Vegas shooting. The best thing I've read on it, it goes beyond just the surface and goes to the real spiritual aspects behind it. And it was called Satanic Sacrifice in Sin City, I believe. Really good stuff.
Well, you know, there is a thought that says that reality only exists to what you can actually see or perceive. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. And I don't think people realize that many times, Jeff, is that what I'm saying is that the reality really doesn't exist beyond what you see. You
And that's
can't
very
prove.
much along what he was saying. It's real if you believe it, and it's only real if you believe it.
Yeah, because you can't prove what's behind it. You know, you can tell me I've got neighbors over there. I've seen them 1,000 times, but when I'm sitting here right now, they don't need to be existing.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, you know, and we don't see that.
That sounds like the Adjustment Bureau where they built the future as you observed it.
Well, you know, there's a lot of reality to that.
George
Seriously.
Clooney, I believe, was in that
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Don't like George, but I like some of his movies.
Well, you look at what really reality is, and at times it really scratches your heads. I have seen things when I used to do a lot of aerial photography that I was filming an airplane because we're sometimes in the flight path to DIA. And I saw a plane that entered in from the southwest, and I'm filming it. And the next thing I know, it's literally like there was a frame or two that it advanced, and there's the plane.
Oh, so you saw a glitch in the matrix.
yeah, it's like, what happened here?
It's like when Neo went, whoa.
Yeah. There you go. So
Davies from Scotland says out of sight, out of mind.
a lot of truth to that. I
Might
don't
be
think.
out of sight, out of mind, out of reality.
Well, all right. So you look at the fourth principle of motion, right? And that's the conservation of energy. So
Explain that to us, Wayne.
okay, you know, uh, energy has three different states of matter. It's solid, it's plasma, it's gas. And then you get to the fourth state, which is the conservation of energy, which means energy will not be expunged or expanded out beyond that which is able to take in.
Right.
So if you think about it, if this is the matrix and it's controlled, it's a controlled panel. Again, I don't need to see my neighbors over there. They don't need to exist. Now, if I get up and I walk out and I look out my window and I say, well, there they are. Of course they're going to be there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, do you think they act, and I don't know, do they act differently when they're observed? I'm sure they do. I mean, I know there's a lot of things I would do when I'm not observed that I wouldn't do when I am being observed.
It's the photon test, when you start splitting a photon.
Why do people sometimes send me emails? I know that you're a shill now because you drink out of a Chevron mug.
Oh,
is there something about the Chevron I'm not aware of?
I don't know. I was giving thought to something today that had not really occurred to me.
What was that?
Well, the second Adam, because I'm counting the 6-day people in Genesis 1:26. So the second Adam, if you read how it's written, was actually a hermaphrodite.
You'll have to give me chapter and verse on that one, Wayne.
Well, it said that God created Adam, didn't create Eve.
Right.
In the second Genesis story.
Right, in Genesis 2.
Yeah, so Adam was technically a hermaphrodite. And because, here's my point, when Adam went to sleep, what Adam actually was taken out of was not the rib, it was the womb. The WOMB, womb, man. Eve was the womb of the man. Because if you read in the Apocrypha, the story of Adam and Eve, you find out that when the idea of sex came up, Adam said, why would I betray myself, commit adultery to myself by having sex with Eve? He couldn't get over that.
Interesting. I'll have to study that one, Wayne, before I can venture an opinion.
So again, Eve, and here's the interesting thing.
Oh, that wasn't the interesting thing?
Well, no, there's one more. Actually, there's two more. So Eve was the first womb man, but she was not the first female. Lilith was.
Right. Okay. I was going to say, what about Lilith?
So Eve was the second female, but the first womb man.
So was Lilith also hermaphrodite?
No, because in Genesis 1:26 it says he created both male and female. Did he create them?
Right.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened in Genesis 2:7.
No, not at all.
So we got a completely different species here, a completely different approach, and it's unique. Now, I've been reading, just so you can see, the Apocrypha, Old Testament. And I have been reading the life of Adam and Eve.
Interesting.
And, because this is what happened when they stepped outside of paradise. And it's a very sad story. I mean, but I'm about to shock everyone with something here. So let me just set the scene. So,
Prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, for a shock.
Give me 1 second here.
1 second to prepare yourself.
What we have here is Satan is now confronting Adam again the second time. And Adam comes up to him and says to him, what's up with this? He says, and I want to get right to the point here.
They're ready, Wayne. They're saying they're ready.
I know it. I know it. And here I am looking for the exact. Thank you. I was at the birth of Cain, which.
Okay. Oh, a whole different story.
All right. So let me set the point. They're trying. Adam wants to repent, and Eve says, "What's repentance?" Because to her, she knew who was the violator. And Adam says, well, maybe if we repent and repent enough, the Lord God will have mercy on us and take us back into the garden. And so they made a pact. Adam would stand in the Jordan 40 days. Eve would stand in the Tigris for 40 days. Now, when Adam went into the Jordan, he spoke to the river and spoke that all the living creatures surround him so that he was protected. Eve was not. She was standing directly in the water.
Thank you very much, April. Just give me an email and we can get something scheduled. I appreciate it.
So Satan comes along. 8 days went by. Then Satan was angry and transformed himself into the brightness of angels and went away to the Tigris River to Eve and found her weeping. And the devil himself, as if to grieve with her, began to weep and said to her, step out of the river and cry no more. Cease from the sadness and the sighs. Why are you and your husband Adam disturbed? The Lord God has heard your sighs and accepted your repentance. And all we, the angels, have entreated for you and interceded with the Lord for you. And he sent me to bring you up from the water and give you food which you had in paradise, for which you have been lamenting. Now, therefore, come out of the water, and I will lead you to that place where your food has been prepared. So Eve gets up out of that. Now, what's happened here?
This isn't going to end well, is it?
No, because what Eve has done here, she's broken twice now. Once God's law, now Adam's.
Right.
And now in verse 12, it says, and the devil sighed and said, oh, Adam, because Adam come out and said, why are you assaulting us? We've done you nothing. What have you to do with us? What have we done to you that you should pursue us with deceit? Why does your malice fall on us? Why have you stolen your glory and made you to be without honor? We have not touched you. Why do you treacherously and enviously pursue us, O enemy, all the way to death? And the devil sighed and said, O Adam, all my enemy and envy and sorrow concern you. Since because of you, I am expelled and deprived of my glory, which I had in the heavens in the midst of angels. And because of you, I was cast out into the earth. Adam answered, what have I done to you? And what is it my blame with you? Since you are neither harmed nor hurt by us, why do you pursue us? The devil replied, Adam, what are you telling me? It is because of you that I have been thrown out of here. When you were created, I was cast out from the presence of God and was sent out from the fellowship of the angels. When God blew him into you the breath of life, and your countenance and likeness were made into the exact image of God. Michael brought you and made us worship you in the sight of God. And the Lord God said, behold, Adam, I have made you in our likeness and image. And Michael went out and called all the angels, saying, worship the image of the Lord God, as the Lord God has instructed. As Michael himself worshiped first and called me and said, are you ready for this? This is going to blow you freaking away. And Michael first worshiped and called me and said, worship the image of God, Yahweh. Adam is Yahweh. Now, and I answered, I do not worship Adam. And when Michael kept forcing me to worship, I said to him, why do you compel me? I will not worship one inferior and subsequent to me. I am prior to him in creation. Before he was made, I was already made. He ought to worship me. And when they heard this, the other angels who were under me refused to worship him. And Michael asserted, worship the image of God. But if not now, you will not worship the Lord God. He will be wrathful with you. And I said, if he be wrathful with me, I will set my throne above the stars of heaven and will be like the Most High.
Michael said that?
No, that's Satan. That's the devil saying it. So there you go.
Interesting. Interesting stuff.
Isn't it, though?
It is.
Now, of course, you know, they'll tell you that's the pseudo-apocrypha, you know, but the problem is, Jeff, is that there are some 100+ books that were part of the whole Hebraic faith. And what we have gotten is that we've gotten a cherry picked to fit a particular narrative.
Right.
But what I found interesting in there, it was that here, Adam is Yahweh.
I'm not super excited about the Hebraic faith as a whole, to be honest with you.
I get that, but I'm saying in the context of the current consciousness of what the three major religions are founded on. This is rather interesting as, number one, we have a narrative now of Eve outside of the fall. We know this, that Adam, in fact, the devil said to Adam, well, he said, I've already had your wife once. And Adam said, are you going to have her again? Now, when Cain was born, according to the book of Adam and Eve, Cain immediately walked after birth. And it was quite very weird. He wasn't what would be typically a baby. So just an interesting little diversion, my friend.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to walk down that road with you, but it is interesting to ponder for sure.
Well, you know, in Bible studies, as I went to, and I wanted to get the whole story, you know, and that's why
It's called Going to the Beach.
Well, it's just, this is an expansion of the Old Testament and the legends, the wisdoms, the philosophy, the literature, prayer, psalms, odes, fragments of lost Judeo-Hellenistic works. And if you study history, you will find out that in 333 BC,
Interesting number.
Well, Alexander the Great conquered Judea. And when he conquered Judea, he set up 50 different, what we would call townships. These were centers in which he began to Hellenize the region. And what we see here is a piece of history of how you begin to see the blending of cultures.
Interesting.
And that's what the pseudo-apocrypha is about. It gives you the other books that, as the Hebraic influence, if you want to call it, I don't think it was influence at all. I think it's part of the God spell. But anyway, what was actually happening in history? Alexander was Hellenizing the Jewish faith at that point because it had so degraded to that point. There was over 100 years where no one really knew what the faith was.
Right.
So it's interesting when you read these works, you know, how much were they accepted? How much of it was just simply folklore? And then how much of it has an influence? Because it does pick up the story where the Genesis story merely gives us a brief introduction and then immediately changes the story and moves on.
Yep. Hello, Teresa Enlow, new subscriber. Glad to see you here.
Hello, Teresa. So anyway, so what's on your mind there,
And it's
buddy?
interesting. The fellow I interviewed last night also used that term, the God spell.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
It is, folks. I swear to you, it is. Listen, I posted a video today showing people once and for all, quit calling this deity Jesus. It doesn't exist.
I
It's a
agree.
made up name. And I went painstakingly and showed them where the God spell comes in. But
Hello, cryptic thinker. Welcome.
hello, cryptic thinker. But my point is that when you continue repeating, when you know it's a falsity, what does that become? A religion.
That's absolutely true. Not
Yeah.
to mention like a toll pay or a thought form as well.
Yeah. And, you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago that, we both have seen what would be called miraculous healings. When you see people
Mhm.
really moved in the name of Jesus. And, I have people, saying, all right, then explain that. Well, it's very easy to explain.
It is.
It's us. We have the ability to heal ourselves. Now, you get into an environment where that energy is magnified, why you can begin to do miraculous things with that. And particularly if you're the receptor.
I agree.
I mean, how many camp meetings have you seen under the tents?
How many of them have I preached?
That's what I'm saying.
We were preaching one time, and people won't believe this, but it's true anyhow. We were preaching one time, and the like two fire engines roll up, and they come running up saying, "Where's the fire?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm preaching." I said, "I don't know what you're talking about, officers." They said, "Well, we had reports that this tent was on fire." The people were seeing flames on top of the tent around and
Hey,
called in.
yeah. So what is that? What is that a manifestation of?
That's a manifestation of some unbalanced energy, some bad juju, man.
Well,
But you can cast, I mean, I used to cast out demons back in the day in the name of Jesus. And then I started casting them out in the name of Yeshua. And I finally realized that I could cast them out in the name of Mickey Mouse if I really believed strongly enough in Mickey Mouse. It's my intention, not the name.
yeah, that's exactly it.
Because you get, well, Jeff, I had ETs visit me and I said the name of Jesus and they left. Okay. What does that prove? That proves you really believe in the name of Jesus.
That's
Doesn't
exactly what it
prove,
proves.
yeah, it doesn't prove anything about the ETs.
Not at all. Oh, and and here's where the God spell, I call it mind coitus because this is really what it is.
I've adopted that term.
It's a good one.
It is a
Uh,
good one.
so here's the thing, Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen.
Think about what you just said.
Think about that. That's freaking alchemy, folks. That's
Yep.
creating out of the nothingness. Now, in one of the programs I did, I said, even the nothingness has a thought.
How so?
The fact that you and I could even think of the nothingness shows that the thought exists, that it exists.
That's interesting.
And I don't think that sometimes, and so another one I always got to me was Romans 14:24, I believe. And it says, everything that doesn't proceed from faith is sin.
Right, right,
Yeah. And then the great one, Hebrews 11:6, it is impossible to please God without faith. Whoever would
right,
draw near to him must believe that he exists, and he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him.
right.
Well,
I haven't been able to get a hold of Larry Geller. You asked, why haven't you done the show with the friend that knew Charlie Hodge? And I was saying it's on my YouTube channel, but the one I did with Larry was actually on Blog Talk Radio. I'm going to have to pull it down and put it on my YouTube channel. It was a good one.
who is that?
Larry Geller was the hairdresser, de facto spiritual guru, and good friend of Elvis Presley.
Okay. Okay. Now, was Elvis into the other channeling, or was he into what I would
Elvis
call?
started out in an Assembly of God church in Memphis when he was a boy. That was his base. As he, became famous and moved on, he became much more a person spiritual. When there's some debate about what book he had with him when he died, but I happen to know exactly what book it was. He was reading the autobiography of a yogi when he died. So he was very much into, Eastern thought, Indian thought. He was a spiritual person. He wasn't a Christian anymore, but he did wear a cross around his neck. He wore a Star of David. He wore several religious emblems because he said he would hate to miss heaven on a technicality.
That I can get behind that.
Yeah.
I seriously can. That's cool. That's really
so
cool.
he was a very spiritual man, for sure.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, getting back to this whole thing, as I was trying to tell people today, is that, one of the, and this is how it works. Once you get out of the spell, the guy who wrote Second Peter wrote the warning, because he said, "Woe unto you if you ever awake," and I'm putting it in my vernacular, from this belief.
The AWV, the Authorized Wayne version.
Exactly. And, it's on sale at Amazon.com. So that, there's no going back. You profaned the blood. There's no more forgiveness for you.
Yeah, Hebrews. There remaineth no more sacrifice of sin, but a certain fearful looking for of righteous indignation, which shall devour the adversaries.
Yeah.
So that's pretty plain. No passco, no collect two hundo. You're done.
You out of here, Jack.
Yep. Hebrews 5:46 or so, isn't it? Or
well, I know that
in the Hebrews.
Yeah, and the book of Hebrews is always that one. It's like, why is it in the New Testament again? You know, that they're
because Paul wrote it and he wanted it there.
Yeah, well,
in my opinion,
again, it's all part of it. The point is,
there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin, but a certain fearful looking for of fiery indignation that shall devour the adversaries. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? The way I look at things, you compel people by a handshake and open arms, not saying you cross this line, Jack, they're going to burn your ass.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. And I shudder to think how many times the words came out of my mouth. It's heaven or hell, turn or burn. How horrible was that?
Well, I think it's just that, I was talking to
Hello, Yogic Vision.
Hello.
He says Paulism. He's right, or she's right.
We were talking about the fact that, all right, let's just get the concept of heaven and hell settled once and for all. There could never be a heaven, because no matter what the scenario would be, it would eventually become hell. Think about it. How is the experience going to be any different? People will say, well, it's ever going to be ever evolving. Into what? I mean, it defies the physical laws of creation. There has to be a positive. There has to be a negative. You can't have one out of balance. There's always going to be the opposition of what we call good and evil. And listen, it just depends on how daylight is perceived. To some, daylight is life. To others, daylight is death. There are those that are creatures that have life forms that only live in dark.
Yeah. Somebody just said, Gary Baxter said, heaven will become boring as hell.
Well, and that's just the point. And then, then I look at this, what's hell? Who's going to be doing the tormenting here? So this is going to be self-emasculation. Is that, I think that's what someone once told me. He said, well, it's really whatever your sins were. Which
crazy
one? Which one? So am I going to get and so
I mean, if you were a victim of sexual sin, that might be a whole different thing.
Well, I know some people who really get pleasure out of pain. I mean,
that's true.
The thought of them being tortured all day is like having, boom,
flagellation time.
So I was
I got
reading.
an email today, Wayne, that I just wanted to mention. 13-year-old girl that listens to the program on the phone with boys in her class, telling them she's not buying what they're selling about Christianity. I'm loving that.
You go, girl.
From listening to little old me.
Well, it's happening everywhere. People are beginning to realize that there's something wrong. Listen, one of the
Yep.
things that I began to find, Jeff, I've talked about this before, was that I kept on telling people, I said, listen, what people are looking for is the miraculous. They're looking for the supernatural. They're looking for this deity, this God that can fulfill everything that they have been sold. The first law in sales, I used to teach a sales called the receptive selling course. And the fact is that people aren't looking for reasons to be sold. They're seeking affirmation as to why they're buying.
Right.
And what people are seeking when they come first to seek God is that they're seeking the supernatural. And that's what you're going there for, the experience. It's the transformation. And what we find is that when the story, and I told people today on my channel, I said, you just have to do just a little bit of cursory work. And the cohesion begins to lose its adhesion really quickly.
It does. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And Wayne, one of the guys on my channel, Lee Veltman, you've probably seen him around.
Yeah.
He always talks about blue avians. I'm like, the hell are blue avians? I didn't know what blue avians were. So I looked up blue avians, and do you know what they are?
Well, I know we talked about this on Sunday. Yes.
Did we?
The bird people.
And the bird people. And I thought it was just the dumbest thing ever. Who dreamed this up? And as I start to study throughout the week, from the beginning, I mean, way back in the Old Testament through to the New Testament, there is bird imagery, and there's bird imagery throughout the Bible and blue imagery. So this is not just either these guys that created it have tapped into something. I think it's probably a fallback plan for he that shall not be named, because there really is some blue bird imagery throughout the Bible, and now they're trying to make them into blue bird saviors. It's still stupid, crazy, and a delusion, but it's an old delusion.
Well, isn't it in the Vedic that Krishna was blue?
That's part of it, and they even have gods in there that are blue with feathers.
Yeah, and so this whole battle that happened with Krishna and who was the opposer? I'll think of it here in a second.
No, that's the one that was the that god tried to kill him. Who was that? I forget.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, it escapes me at the moment, but they were the blue people. They were
exactly.
Yeah,
that was one of the points I saw. Did we have to teach ourselves to see the color blue?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about any empirical data on that. Yogic Vision says the avians, forgive me. If they existed, I would be happy. The avian, can you believe, Wayne, that in 2017, there's adult people that believe in the avians? And here's a classic one, Bree Craw 11. Are we in for a blue, blue, blue Christmas?
or how about this? The blue flu.
What's the blue flu?
It's from the blue people. I don't know.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
What? It's really odd when we start talking about this, because I went into my library when we talked on Sunday, got a book out that I found very interesting.
Walking Among Us. It's not about blue avians, is it?
No, this is about the fact that we just can't. The brain, the human brain, our mind, it's our mind that delivers the visual imagery.
Okay.
That mind can be easily manipulated. If people go to the singularityhub.com, it's a great story on there. What they're finding out now, because of this 5G, which, by the way, they think is the reason why these forest fires started in California. This is bad. This is bad stuff, this 5G. But the point is, every one of us can be hacked. So people ask me, why don't I go onto Facebook anymore? Well, I'll tell you why I don't go on there anymore is that they're using this altering AI program. The developer who worked for Facebook, who developed the likes,
Mm-hmm.
he said he wished he'd never done that because what they did from that, they did psychological tests prior to that. And what they found out was that eventually it gets into here and it's like candy, cocaine.
Interesting.
It stimulates you.
The blue
And
flu is when the police go on strike, by the way.
oh, there you go. Good point. Knew it came from somewhere. And that's also why there was a software program I did called Eliminating of the Blue Canary Syndrome, which was developed a hazmat program that integrated a number of different database systems. But the reason why we did it, and when it was sold to Northrop Grumman, was that we wanted to eliminate the dead cop. Because when first responders would arrive at a hazmat situation, usually they knew they had a problem because of the dead cop that was dead.
Oh, no.
So we developed a software system back in 2002. And yeah. So anyway, the point of this book here is the fact is that there have been estimated there's 28 different species that are here among us now.
28 different species. Are we talking ETs?
Well, if you see, that's a very interesting because if you want to define ETs as extraterrestrial, would you accept a life form that had a part of our genetic code? Would you call them? Would you
Maybe,
call them?
yeah, maybe. But who knows that there's how many of them? Who identified them all and wrote them all down?
Well, interesting that you asked that. In this book, it's really quite fascinating. This book is about the Black Ops.
I'll bet you there's blue avians in that book.
Who knows? I do know this is the entire how the whole Black Ops space program. There's a complete different space program going on. I always remember the one that I always thought was very odd was that when Ronald Reagan had a luncheon meeting, it's in his memoirs, by the way, met with NASA director and head of NSA, and George Bush was there as well. And
Wayne, hold up the book again, please. They're asking. See, I'm dubious on the secret space program. I don't know why. It just doesn't resonate with me.
Well, I think you have to look at, do you know what Skunk Works is?
You told me what it was last week or on Sunday.
Yeah, just check it out. I can just tell you this, Jeff. We've got technology that it's out there. I know that when my dad was about to retire, there was a whole new program. He had just wrapped up on the Aurora project.
Okay.
And the Aurora project is a new propulsion system that you're going to be hearing about in the next couple of years. They have a new propulsion system. And what I'm trying to say is that we've got technology out there, brother, that just, it's real. The point is,
yeah, I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah. Again, there are these programs. I got this as well. I wanted to show you this one. This is a great book, folks. This kind of tells the background story.
Oh, interesting.
What I told you, I had this in the library and I went and pulled it. And this is really kind of the beginning. It all started with Eisenhower.
Very interesting.
He hated the son of a bitches, is what he called them.
Eisenhower hated the Kennedys?
No, the ETs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got that.
What I've read in here, Eisenhower said, listen, he said, I spent the last 7 years fighting one damn devil. Now he says, I'm coming to find out that the damn devils are up in the heavens.
And that's something.
So, is it part of the whole thing? You know, think about this. I know we talk about this. I know everyone's out there listening, but think about this. You know, I still contend. I did a video on Monday. I saw that Rex did one today where I contend that there has been a dampening field around Earth. And I think it's been
Okay.
here for a very long time, millions of years. I believe that there's good evidence of a hollow Earth, not a flat Earth, but a
I agree.
hollow Earth. All right. I believe as well is that there is another species here. Listen, if no matter how you look at the creation story, I've read, if you look at the Bronze Book's got about a half dozen different versions of the creation story from many different cultures.
Right.
It all comes down to the same. Something got screwed up.
Is it like a space fence?
I think what it is, it's been dampening us. I swear, Jeff, I think that we are an enslaved species because the craziness today is this. You see now where the neural lace, that's the next internet.
The neural lace.
Yeah, yeah. Elon Musk talks a lot about this. If anyone else really wants to learn about this, go to the Singularity University. You can actually go on there. You can look at some of the public information. The Singularity University is a project funded by Google. Apple's a part of this. Elon Musk is a part of this. And it's dealing with just that, the singularity of the new transhuman AI.
Isn't that something?
And as I see it today, the plan is well underway. I mean, there is a transformation, Jeff, taking place to our species right now. Convinced of it.
And it's not a good one, right?
I don't think it's good for us. Can tell me what technology has actually done for us? Seriously. Now, people will immediately refer to the medical. We can discuss that in another segment here, but outside of that, what has technology really done?
Well, I mean, it's made us more comfortable.
Is that good?
Well, it depends on who you talk to, I guess.
It means that you have 30-somethings now dying of heart attacks.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the comfortability. What we found out about human nature, we do best when we struggle.
Yeah.
It's true.
I can believe that.
We're happier when we're struggling towards a goal.
No flat earth spamming, please, or any other random spamming.
So you think about that now. That takes it into a whole different point of view, doesn't it?
I think so. I think so.
So let's talk again about what has technology done for us. All right, let's take the comfortability factor because we now know we're more happier when we're actually struggling. And that's the weird thing. All right, so.
Well, remember, they even said that in The Matrix. Remember when Agent Smith was talking to Neo?
Yeah. So I find it, someone said to me, communication. I said, okay, let's talk about
that's true.
All right. So we go through the whole process of communication.
Gary says we want flat stomachs, not flat earths.
Exactly. So we go through learning how to speak. First of all, hey, if you buy it, I think the first Adam never spoke a word. I think they used telepathy.
That could very well be.
I think that's exactly what happened. There would have been no other way to have spoken to a god.
Do you think with this lockdown coming around the planet, this dampening field, you said it's even more imperative to us that we get out of here, that this be our last life on this planet so we can escape the Matrix?
Yeah, because, no matter how I look at this now, something ain't right here.
Yeah.
Something is not right. And even if you take the creation story, and I still contend they're telling us something here. If the serpent, which was the small s, which means it was a species, it wasn't an s where you could have said it was the Satan or it was the devil. No. Now, people later, I think, blended that in because you have to figure out if the story was to stand on its own, holy crap. What it meant was that there was another species here that mated with this new species, Homo sapiens, us. And the thing about it is, we've got immediately contamination of the bloodlines. Immediately. The only saving grace in that would have been if Adam had not procreated. And we know that according to the story, he did. So let's just take this now. So now we've got hybrids. Cain. Cain apparently was of this copulation. So now anything that Eve breeds with, where Adam would be the pure Adam, the pure seed, right? As Adam said, why would I have sex with myself? And, you know, I started thinking about that.
We're back to your Apocrypha book again, right?
Yeah, but think about this. I mean, if the story has substance at all, it has to have some sort of real life unfolding. I mean, we just didn't say like that, and all of a sudden, you know, Eve and her 5 kids later. Well, wait a minute. You know, that reminds me of Jerry Seinfeld. We just do the yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, wait a minute. I don't want the yada, yada, yada. I want to know what the yada was. So, all right. So let's just say hypothetically that there was a species here of a reptilian nature that walked on this earth for millions of years before we ever came along.
Well, I think it's demonstrable from Genesis that there was a reptilian upright hominid species that walked here before we did. In Genesis, it's only 4 or 5 verses, but who knows how many years that covers.
Exactly. So, you know, then you go into saying, all right, so is there such a thing as ET? Well, if you've got angels are ETs. It's just a tomato spelled or pronounced a different way. The Old Testament is replete with flying saucers, what we would call flying saucers.
No doubt about it. So is the New Testament.
Yeah. So what's going on here? I'm telling you, folks, there's a dampening field. Jeff,
and Wayne, interestingly enough, every bit of the UFO, ET, alien imagery in the New Testament is exclusively associated with the major events in the life of Jesus.
Oh, a lot of flying things up there.
Yep.
Lots of them. So
and Jesus is connected to them.
Well, somebody's connected to him.
Well, the Jesus character. And there's people asking us, have you heard of any drills going on in California and Texas called duck and cover?
Yes, in California, they are doing that.
And what do you think that is? What is it supposed to be?
I think it's what we used to do in the 60s. They're preparing for something. I got a weird. Go ahead.
So is it just a coincidence? And if my data's not right, feel free to correct me. But it seems like every one of these events that we've had, there's been a drill preceding it. Yeah.
I got a strange email today saying, don't think it's going to be the Koreans that's going to pop the EMP, you know, the electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah.
You know. Now, this is weird, and it was just no one make anything of this. You know, I've been having to do cutting some branches down and doing some trees. And I got the weirdest feeling because normally I just simply put it out into the recycle and they take it and they put it in and, you know, crunch it up, whatever.
Right.
Today was weird. I've got these logs and I just got this mental impression, Wayne, go over there and stack it. So I did. Now, you know, am I saying something's going to happen? Listen, there's some
I'll stack the wood, you mean?
Yeah. You know, there's some weird stuff going on in the financial markets. You know, if China makes this move, and I hope they don't, but if they make a move on the petrodollar and push the greenback off as the reserve currency, it's going to be a bad day here.
But doesn't that eventually have to happen?
I think eventually.
Because it's not a sustainable currency.
Well, when you actually look at the actual value of the dollar now, it's about 1.3 cents basically is the value
Crazy.
of it. Yeah, it's virtually worthless.
Yeah.
And so, listen, I've told people 3 years ago when I worked as a consultant with the Federal Reserve, um, that you just you need to be aware of some things. Listen, the reason why Congress will never deal with the debt ceiling, they've got no plans to ever repay it back.
I've often thought, we've given, and I'm just speaking as an American now, we've given all the other places in the world so much money. What would be bad for us just to say, we're not paying it off? Our balance is budget. Our budget is balanced. Boom. Deal with it.
The only reason why we haven't defaulted is because of our nukes. We've got technology, and I think it goes beyond just the nukes. We've got technology. And maybe they saw this coming. Eisenhower, in fact, it was Kennedy who threatened to shut down the military. Go ahead.
Somebody just said something huge in the chat room, and it's true. They said, write it down. Donald Trump is the master of the write-off.
He is. That's
Donald Trump has taken a lot of debt-ridden companies and magically made it all disappear.
I'll tell you.
Is that what he's going to do and then hand off the baton to Mr. Pence?
Let me tell you what I heard. Now, take it for whatever you want.
Take it with 3 grains of salt.
No one ever gets put in there unless the committee, the council, approves of them. Some say it's the Bilderbergs. Others say it's another group that will go unnamed because I ain't going to name them.
Right.
But here's the deal. You're absolutely right. That's what he was brought in for. I told Rex Bear this about 7-8 weeks ago. No, I told him over the summer. It's on his archives. Check it out. I got a call from a friend in DC, works there, and said, Wayne, there's some weird crap going on out here.
Right.
He said, man, just keep your eye on Pence. I said, what do you mean? He said, just keep your eye on him. Well, what people don't know, and it's been weird, very weird, is that Mike Pence he's been doing this now for the last 4 months, going around raising his own campaign funds.
Yeah.
I've heard the letter is already written.
And Trump is all right with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is what. Listen,
I believe Trump finishes his first term. Do you agree or disagree?
I think it'd be out before then. Listen, I think you have to define what a patriot is. If you had the way that that the patient's going to have to lose a leg, there's no way out of it. But you're a skilled surgeon that you're going to be able to do it in such a manner that the patient's going to live. Is that not a patriot? I challenge you to define to me what is a patriot. And if you know that this is what the eventuality is going to be, what better person would you want in there?
Yeah. I think Trump finishes his first term, but I hear what you're saying, and I think that probably may well happen, but I think he finishes the first term.
All right. So how many in the chat room saw yesterday's news conference with Trump? Anyone?
I did not see it, interestingly enough. And I'll be honest, I'm basing that on the astrology, the cards, and the rods.
Well, here's what I can tell you. Now, what people don't realize is that Trump is up now to pick the next Federal Reserve chairman.
Why doesn't he audit the Fed? Why doesn't he close the Fed? I mean, Thomas Jefferson said the worst thing you can ever do is give an autonomous organization control over your issuing of your currency. When they give you your currency and loan it back to you at interest, you're already conquered.
Oh, and it gets worse because since approximately 2010, we've been monetizing our own debt. Now, folks, go and look at Germany, go look at Venezuela, go look at every currency that's collapsed. the last sign of the cancer is when you monetize your own debt. And that's basically, we're buying our own debt. So yeah, it's really screwed up because we got someone printing our money, charging us interest, then we pay the interest, but now we have to go and they're buying our debt. But yeah.
Wow, the Fed is buying the debt. That's interesting.
Yes, that's called monetizing the debt. And it stinks. And so what we've been running on, this country has been running on what they call the CRs. And it sucks. And people don't realize that they allowed the last administration a free pass. For 8 years, what Harry Reid and the Democrats did was to literally, folks, on our country, Americans, this is what they did. It's called continued resolutions.
Right.
And the thing about continued resolutions is that you can tack on as much private spending, funding, etc. So the fact is, the United States has not technically had a budget in almost a decade. Now, some point in time, so let me just answer your question. The collapse is coming. It's inevitable. And when it does, the Fed is going to be the one who's going to be the scapegoat. Mark my words. And what do I think is going to take over from there? I think the plan is to bring in the central bank.
So you don't think the Fed is bad? Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, no, the Fed is bad. I mean,
right.
Listen.
And by the way, the IRS is a governmental agency. Some people are saying that it's not. It is definitely a government agency. It's not a private entity. The Fed is a private entity. The IRS is a governmental agency.
Yeah, the IRS is about as much government as you'd ever want. But yes,
yeah, it's a government agency. The Fed is not.
What the illusion is this, and I'll just tell everyone: you look at the numbers. Anyone who wants to become on my show or the channel here and join us, that's an economist, will validate what I'm about to tell you.
Absolutely.
We on September 28th, 2008. The United States went into technical bankruptcy. Now, if you will recall what happened at the White House, George Bush was president. You had both Barack Obama and John McCain. John McCain suspended his campaign. Barack Obama just paused it. And they were called to the White House. We technically defaulted then, folks. We went into a depression that hit in earnest in 2010. And the only reason why now you see the numbers the way they are is that for the last 7 years, the numbers have been skewed. The real unemployment rate is still double digit. The real inflation rate is double digit. They removed all of the more costing factor. Ask the mothers out there how much milk has increased. Ask the mothers out there how much a box of cereal has increased. And if you look at the numbers and you go back and you do a comparison on a year-by-year basis, we are in double-digit inflation. Now we have high unemployment. And the only spending that we have right now is still primarily from the Fed. It was an artificial stimulus that we became addicted to. And Trump has mentioned this many times. He says it's got to stop. The whole healthcare debacle is the fact that right now, what most Americans don't realize is that we now subsidize the 3 insurance companies to the tune of $7 billion. They got no incentive to change. And it gets worse. Yeah. So anyway, let
me just post this because I'm trying not to be a jerk, but would you please just read this, and please just read this, and let's stay on topic in the chat room. The Internal Revenue Service is a department of the Treasury. It's under the direction of the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, appointed by a 5-year term by the President. The Tax Reform Act of 1986 modernized the IRS and restructured it along a private sector model. Wayne, as a financial, a man who had a career in finance, would you explain what this means, restructured it along a private sector model?
When you owe the IRS money, particularly if you get over $10,000, they turn it over to a collection agency. It's run as a business. So you now are a debtor, and the debt to the IRS is a very special debt. That's what they mean by running a private sector model.
So this does not mean that the IRS is a private sector company.
Oh, no, no, no.
It is a government agency, and you should, I don't know why I say these things. I should just let it go. But if you take this and say the IRS is a private sector business, and you keep saying it, you are proving your intellectual insophistication.
That's the Mandela effect.
Yeah. You are not very intellectually sophisticated if you believe that this says that the IRS is a private company. It's a government agency which is run like a private sector. Somebody said, you know what? The IRS is really run stupid. I get an idea. Why don't we run it like it's supposed to make a profit? Oh, that's a good idea. That's a private sector model. It's a government agency run with the idea of let's make a profit. Is that pretty well stated?
Exactly it. That's the idea. That's what it does. I had a friend when in my office in Austin, Texas, we were right next door to the IRS enforcement office and got to know a lot of people there. And most of them were IRS, how should we say, private police. They're not private police, police for the IRS. Mm-hmm. They carried badges. And the one guy I got to know really well, in the back of his car, it was like an armory.
Wow. And then they will come take your stuff if you don't pay them.
Oh, yes, they will. They will, literally.
And there may not be any law or anything in the Constitution that authorizes the collection of taxes. I hear you on that. But guess what? Don't pay and see what happens. They will still come and take your stuff, and you can still go into the judge and try to say that. They're going to hold you in contempt and give you another fine. I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. But guess what? There is no law on record or in the Constitution that says you have to pay your taxes, but try not doing it and see what happens.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Good luck with that one. And I don't like it any more than you do, but we live in the real world.
Yeah, and what people don't realize, they say, well, there are not debtor prisons. Because what Jeff just said, once you get a contempt order against you, now they can jail your ass.
Yep.
And once they got you in jail, guess what your bond is going to be set accordingly to?
What?
Whatever your debt is.
Oh, wow. So to get out of jail, if the IRS sends you to jail to get out, you've got to post that bond for the amount you owe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
what would happen if everybody just stopped paying?
Yeah, well, they called that the Boston Tea Party when they did that.
Yeah.
And,
wars happen. The same thing will happen. What happened when we stopped paying our taxes to Britain?
But you know what the problem is the dampening field. The damn net is that now all of our taxes are taken out electronically. In fact, it's interesting. I had in one of my talking points, in the next 5 years, we'll be cashless.
You really think so?
Oh, I already know it. I can already tell you. You can go right now to Forbes. Another great story on there. Right now in the European Union, I think it's 11 countries that are now cashless.
Wow. I don't really like that.
It's coming. So my point is, think about this, folks. We could stop paying our taxes. It means that we would have to stop going to work.
Yeah.
Because they're going to get it anyway. I can tell you the regulations are just horrendous. So, at some point in time, the Jenga stack is going to come down.
It is.
Yeah. But it's all the same thing. So here we go. We've got ETs. We've got the Apocrypha. We've got the story of creation. And it comes down to, again, this. It seems like they're always messing with us. I don't care who they are. Be the devil, be the ETs, whoever. What is it about Homo sapiens that these things can't get enough of?
Yeah.
What do we put off an odor that just, drives them crazy, or what? Because it doesn't make any sense. You're looking at the chat room in there. How's it
Yeah,
going
yeah,
there?
it really doesn't make any sense. And it's just crazy. It really is. And it's the whole thing that we are actually building somebody else's dreams. We are playing somebody else's game.
Yeah, yeah,
But I don't know what can we do about it practically? I mean, we cannot just stop paying our taxes. That's not realistic. Unless we could get totally and completely off the grid and go back to a barter system. But then how long would it take for the feds to roll in and get rid of that too?
I
Are we
think.
beyond the point of no return to ever having true democracy again, Wayne?
Oh, I think that ship sailed a long time ago.
That's the only reason I voted for Donald Trump, because I thought maybe one last chance to save the republic.
Yeah, and the guy is in there. Listen, say what you will about the dude, but man, you know what? He was a businessman,
Yep.
and you know, I was a registered lobbyist at a time,
No
and
way. Really?
yeah, yeah, it really
Nice.
was. Was with the national remodeling industry back in the 80s. And so I know that I was very good friends with Congressman Bob Young.
Yep.
Was
See,
very good.
that's not Bill Young from
No, no,
Florida.
no,
Okay.
no. Bob Young back in the 80s.
Okay.
I knew Dick Gerhardt. Where him and I
Dick
lived.
Gephardt.
Yeah, we lived about a mile down the street. I helped him when he first started. We were actually in a bar
So you
uh,
were a Democrat?
at one time. Yeah, I
Oh,
was.
it's like Ronald Reagan said, President Reagan, don't you take responsibility for any of this? Don't they said, do you absolve yourself of all responsibility? Oh no. I was a registered Democrat for many years.
Listen, I'm the guy that got tear gassed protesting the war.
Oh,
I
so
mean,
you were a dope smoking hippie Democrat.
took LSD too,
Oh
and
wow. So you were way out there. I was the other side. I was right wing Pat Buchanan Republican,
no,
which is scary too.
yeah, and what we have Tricky Dick for the thing for when he took us off the gold standard.
Yeah.
Listen, I was a punk. I was 18 years old, but I can tell you it drove us crazy because it was just one more insult that we were going to have to take. We were already sending friends over to Nam. I had a friend, his name was Brady. Cool dude, man. He was a surfer. We would go out and, drop LSD and we would surf and get out there with the dolphins and have a great time. He got drafted and one tour the dude come back, man, and man, he was messed up for the rest of it. He
It's
wasn't the
like
same
it's
dude.
like Muhammad Ali said. Why should a black man go over to Asia to fight the yellow man to make the white man rich?
Yeah,
And
and
that's
I mean,
very well stated. Black, white, whatever you are, that's what it
yeah,
was.
yeah, that whole foreign policy that we had, that it just sucked, and the Vietnam War was nothing more than a front machine for you know we could say the energy companies. I mean, listen, it's that famous line in the movie JKF and
JFK.
JFK. Thank you. Where it's Johnson and he's the shadow figure, and he says, "You want a damn war? I'll give you a damn war." Well, in that meeting was the executives of Bell Helicopter. Now, what most people don't realize is that Bell Helicopter was a Texas based company and it was going in the toilet. And the
Wow.
only way that it was going to be able to recover is that if it got a U.S. Army contract, which
Isn't that
subsequently did.
interesting?
And then the next thing you know, the United States Army forms the first air cavalry. And what was it all made up of? The H-1A Hueys.
Oh, so that's how they saved it. And that
Yeah,
was Johnson behind that, huh?
yeah, yeah. It's Johnson.
Wow.
A little bit of history, folks. That's how it worked. That's how it came down.
That's just, I mean, that's the way it's always been. So you think we're done as far as trying to reform this country? So we just got to focus on the spiritual end of things?
I think, yeah. Listen, the monster that's been created there, that's an energy that it comes from a dark place.
Yeah.
And that's what, listen, people
I
don't
hate to
realize.
surrender, but
Well, it's not surrendering. You know, the art of war says this: if you're equal to your enemy, you split and you fight for another day. If superior, you retreat.
oh, that's Sun Tzu.
Yeah. So all I'm telling
So Sun
everybody,
Tzu says if they are superior, you should retreat.
absolutely, absolutely, live to fight another day.
Yeah. But
That's
you
the
say
smart.
that another day is never going to come.
Well, no, I was going to preface what I was going to say is that we prepare from within. Listen, if you got a million people that have figured it out up here, that are focusing in it, and the day when it happens, when we all come together and we've figured it out, that we can actually begin to communicate. I'm finding more and more people, Jeff, that have this ability. They're saying that they're sensing what other people, loved ones, are feeling, sometimes almost to what they're thinking. I'm reading stories that people
Wow.
are doing things that they have, no, like I did today. You know, I saved the logs. I wouldn't do that. Why? To me, right now, it doesn't make any sense. Who knows?
Hmm. Hmm. And Robert Stanley, who we had last night, said that it's all a matrix. It's not even real. So there's two kinds of people that are here. There's those of us that are here, and our souls are outside of this matrix, and they're playing us like we're a controller. We're a soul in a body. That's what we think, and we're moving the body around. He thinks we're just doing it from outside the matrix, and the other people that are here are just actually parts of the game. So his advice would be don't get too wrapped up in it. It's all a game anyway. And you're saying, well, pick your battles. So
Yeah,
it's
I
different
look.
ways of saying the same thing.
It
I
is.
don't like it, but
Well, the amazing thing about the mind, as we were talking about the analogy of cutting the patient's leg off,
mm-hmm,
what the weird thing is that the mind will create phantom pain. And many people who have lost limbs will tell you that their mind will tell them they may have lost their arm and their hand, but their little finger on the amputated part of the body that's gone hurts.
mm-hmm,
Now, isn't that should be a clue for all of us, is that it's the placebo effect. You know, we now know that when you have a controlled environment, that you can give to the blind group, the placebo, 60% are actually going to give the symptoms or the effects of it working.
yeah,
The mind is an incredible thing, Jeff, is what I'm saying. And I think we're getting there. Listen, what you do, and what you do as a public service to it challenges people's core beliefs. And this is the time to challenge them.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just wish I could. Yeah, I mean, you just wish you could figure out, like, to me, and well, I mean, we've gone down this road, and once I'll go down this road a little more. I understand the gold, but I mean, what? So I have some gold with me. How is that going to be any more of a? You're telling me I can use gold when I can't use dollars? I don't get that.
Oh, oh,
How? I
yeah.
mean, I know everybody says that, but how?
Well, if you don't want
And what
gold,
keeps you from knocking me over the head and taking my gold?
well, then let's just take gold. Okay, you have physical gold. I get that, but
Yeah.
I look at gold another way. Just to give you an example, we invested in some honey.
You told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
5 gallon bucket of honey.
yeah, yeah. And so, you know, let's just say if an EMP was to go off and the
Yeah.
grid went down, let's say that we experienced a X-25 sun flare, and the North American continent happened to be on the facing side of the sun when that hit. Well, someone's grid's going to go down. It's most likely going to be ours. And we can even be on the backside and that happen. Let's just say the grid goes down. Well, all right. When electricity is deprived of a society, you got real problems because you've got health, that
Mm-hmm.
people who have medicines that have to be refrigerated, you have machines that keep people alive. And what we now know is that in 3 days, if the grid isn't back up and if there isn't temporary measures put into place very quickly, you have complete anarchy because the food system runs out.
Yeah.
And no one says that that can't happen. But listen, I've been watching the tsunami footage. It's somehow I'm being drawn to it. And
Mm-hmm.
as I watch this, I'm seeing footage now. I did not know that the first tidal wave that came in was 60 feet.
Wow.
I didn't know that. I didn't know, for instance, that the Asian plate that slipped 8.5 meters.
Wow.
Now, I'm watching footage of a death. I mean, I can't watch some of it, but the force of the water 5 miles in. So what I'm trying to say, Jeff, is that we think that these things can't happen, but they're preparing for something.
But again, help me understand. I think I know you're an advocate of gold. Help me understand how that would help me more than Gary Baxter saying, learn to eat wild greens and you'll never go hungry.
Yeah, but in a practical society here, listen, we're still going to have barter systems, and gold will have a barter system. Now they'll immediately outlaw it.
Right, exactly. That was my next thought.
Yeah,
And
they will.
I'm not fighting against it. I'm just
Yeah.
saying if you want me to go out and buy some gold, I got to have some good reasons for it.
Well, if you're going to go out and buy gold, then what I would say is go buy some land.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. You know, gold
Before
right.
gold.
Yeah, I mean, gold right now is 1,000 to 1,100 or so an ounce. I suspect it's going to go up.
Yeah.
But if you're going to buy like a pound of gold, 16 ounces, go buy some land. Land can grow food on.
Exactly.
You can't eat gold.
What about silver?
Actually, silver is, I think, one of the better commodity buys that are out there. I really
So
do.
you're saying, let's say that the EMP's gone off, and I don't know that any of this is ever going to happen, but if the EMP has gone off and the grid's down and we're all, living on our own, and you've got some potatoes that I want, your contention is I could come up to you and give you some silver coins for some potatoes.
Yeah, I think that would be it. Or it could be very differently. Here's something. I know it sounds weird, but people should buy boxes of nails, particularly nails, because if there is a prolonged event, and listen, the grid system in the United States, Jeff, it's as fragile as tungsten. Tungsten burns bright when it's stationary and in a controlled environment, but it's very fragile.
And guess what? Guess what country in the world is sitting on the second largest deposits of tungsten on the planet? Just take a guess.
I don't know. The United States?
How about North Korea?
Life has a way of
imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. So anyway, the point is that it's very fragile. The last solar event that took out the whole Northeast quarter from New York all the way to Toronto.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a solar flare. Yeah, that's what took that out. And the thing about it is New York City wasn't even facing the sun. It's the weird thing of how this energy moves through the earth. And, yeah.
Dude, I love those bunkers that Rex talks about. I really do. I like those. I like that idea.
What's that?
Have you ever seen Rex talk about those bunkers up there in South Dakota?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wouldn't that be just awesome if you could have 50, 60 people out there living in those bunkers in a community? That would be amazing to me. I think that'd be great.
They do.
I don't think there's that many people up there.
The ones in Kansas, right in Kansas, and what is it? Would be the southeast of Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
They're being rehabbed.
Yeah, they've got them there in South Dakota, but if I had to guess, I would guess they haven't even sold 10 of them. But I tell you what, should I be thinking about buying one of those, Wayne?
I would.
Yeah, I am. I tell you, I'm thinking about it. They're I think they're 100 by 60, I believe.
Yeah. And they're hardened.
They're hardened, and they'll put a escape thing on the top of it for you, and they're underground, so you've got land on top of it where you could grow stuff, and you've got some land beside you where you could grow stuff. And what else did I like about them? Oh, shoot. There was something else I liked about them, but I forget now what it was. And they're 25 grand, I think, but you can get into them for as little. I mean, you can put down and pay by the month.
This old house did an episode of where they did one of the tours where a guy had actually rehabbed the whole thing. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think he said he had to put in almost about $1 million into it. But I'm telling you, it was sweet. Had a hydroponic garden, had its own water storage in there. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't put $1 million in it, but if you can, I mean, that to me,
Well, he had $1 million to spend. I wouldn't do it, but
but I mean, you could all, I mean, if a bomb drops right on your head, it's probably gonna not be helpful. But those things, I mean, I don't know how hardened they are, but still, the idea to me of a community of, you know, if you could get 20, 30, 40, 50 people together, and then somebody always says, well, hey, listen, if everybody will know where you are, they'll come take your stuff. But if there's 50 of us, it's a lot harder for them to come and take our stuff. If we can set up a perimeter and stuff like that.
you can get a kill zone set up. Listen, they got the same things you can do right now in the Ozarks. You can buy into those caverns. They have them for sale.
In the Ozarks?
Yeah. Yeah. Right outside Springfield.
How safe are the Ozarks?
Wow. They got those caves down there that go, I know number of software companies that have offices outside of Springfield. They're in caves.
Yeah.
They're ideally environmentally controlled. You talk about having clean energy. I mean, it's the best kind you have coming in there. It's in the tech business, clean energy. You don't like to have dirty electricity coming in. So yeah, I mean, but my attitude is this: as I think about this, I'm going to do a program. Is that they have found the gene? Get this. I'm going to do a story on this that can now turn on. Here's the thing: while we get old, something got programmed into us, Jeff, that every 7 years, our whole cell structure regenerates itself every 7 years. At the age of approximately 35, thereabouts, it shuts down. And the aging process begins in earnest at that point. Now, if you had a youth where you had a good balanced diet, everything was health, that's going to have a reserve energy for you. My point is this: they have found the gene where the biologist, as she said, she can turn it on. This means that in the next 10 years, if you have the money in the boutique labs that they're doing this human genome work at, you can live probably, they said, for another 600-700 years. Would you want to?
No.
I wouldn't either. No, you see, you just said it immediately. No.
I did.
So I don't know how they look in the chat room, but if you could live for 700 years, would you go through the gene therapy to do it?
Yeah. So, Wayne, I know I keep coming back to this, and I'm sorry, but how long do we wait before we really get serious about bugging out? I mean, what do we wait for? I mean, if we wait so long, we'll wait too long, right?
Well, I know this sounds fatalist. It really does. But my wife and I came to the conclusion, why?
Why what?
Why bug out? Listen, if the proverbial kimchi is going to hit the fan, I don't know if I want to be here in the aftermaths.
That's interesting.
I mean, seriously, I'm at that age in my life. I'm 62. I've had a great life.
Yeah.
I got to see the bands. I got to see it when they were my age.
That's why I went and saw the Rolling Stones when I was in Orlando. Just because they were the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly like the Rolling Stones, but I went and saw the Rolling Stones.
Yeah. I see.
I didn't particularly like Willie Nelson. I like Willie, but I went and saw Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
I really like Billy Idol. I went and saw him too.
I didn't see Billy Idol. I saw the Who.
I didn't see the Who.
I saw the Eagles.
I saw the Eagles.
Yeah. I saw the farewell concert when Ron Wood left Faces with Rod Stewart. The next day he was joining the Stones.
I saw Rod Stewart.
Yeah, and saw 10 years after. God rest you, soul Alvin Lee. But yeah, so I'm saying at 62, I don't know what it's going to look like if it happens that way. Listen, you've got millennials and down, they're going to go bat crap crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I've got a real concern with some of this younger generation. I don't think they've got a soul. And if they
Maybe they
do,
don't.
it's been frozen.
Maybe they don't. I love me some Billy Idol.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're not going to buy a bunker, or you're not going to
No.
you're just going to just write it out.
Yeah. I mean, if it's going to be something celestial, hey,
I'm not convinced anything's going to happen anyway, to be honest with you. I think a lot of it, it's such a fevered pitch. I mean,
and
if it does, it does,
You know what, Jeff? You and I talked about this about LA when, and I had to write to one of my subscribers and correct her that LA Mazzilli did say that the rapture was going to take the 23rd of September.
I've still got the tape on it if anybody wants to see it.
And this is what I tried to tell someone. They said, "Oh, this is the last days." I said, "Listen, when are you going to get your proverbial cranial out of your anus? Because here's the problem. It's the last days for every generation.
It's been the last days for at least 2,000 years.
They've all seen the signs.
Paul the apostle wrote that he was going to live to see this rapture he talked about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, Wayne, that Paul is not currently alive.
You pretty sure on that?
Oh, here's a great thing. Oh, Melissa Cummings reports that humans are the only animal you don't have to skin before you eat it.
It tastes like chicken.
But I want to encourage you, whenever possible, try only to eat the rude. Yeah. Follow the Hannibal Lecter rule.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Wayne. I could not get hungry enough to eat a person. I'm just not going to eat a person.
Boy, I keep on reading more and more stories about cannibalism, and I'm going, it tells you folks that the grid's going down, man. I mean,
Soylent Jesus is people.
Yeah, I mean, what is it going to be? Soylent Yellow? Is that the new thing?
Neptune's Cove. You're right. The Armageddon already happened in 70 A.D. That's what it was all pointing towards.
Hey, listen, you asked the poor bastards that were there inside Jerusalem when Titus set the match.
Yep.
I'll guarantee you that for them, it was the apocalypse.
Iowa X says he would only eat vegans.
At least the liver is going to be good, But
with some fava beans.
Oh, that's just disgusting. But yeah. And, we've regurgitated the story. It's like I told.
I don't eat meat, Davey. Very, very, very little.
I like chocolate.
Chocolate. Yeah, I like chocolate too.
Yeah. Like, it's the best food there is. But
Juan's favorite Billy Idol song is Eyes Without a Face.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the way I kind of look,
I think I like Rock the Cradle of Love.
That's a great song.
It is.
Rock the Cradle of Love. So I got my little handbook called The Handbook for the New Paradigm. And it's not funny. It's a great little book. Well written.
Gator's too greasy for me, but yep.
Yeah.
So tell me what's in the new paradigm.
Well, what it tells you is that you're going to have to rethink things. You're going to have to, if you always said, well, this is the way I've always seen it to be, you're going to have to take that out, because taking that approach is going to blind you to see the paradigm.
Wayne, I've always said, if everyone knows it's true, you better rethink it.
Yeah, because something's wrong.
Yeah,
they done synthesized it somehow.
Everybody knows that. Oh, I better check that out. If everybody knows it, it's time to relook at it.
Might want to nail that one down. Write that one down.
Where did you get that from?
I found it in my library, and I, it's $6.95. Probably get it right on Amazon.
That is cool.
It is. And it just tells us that, you know, what I heard the other day
And
on,
here's another great comment from on my YouTube channel from Chrissy Harding. You are dumb, 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 dumb.
well,
That's it.
you know, I heard a great man say, stupid is as stupid does.
The great American philosopher.
You know, dumb.
And then the next one says, God lives. Remember, God is love, and you are dumb, 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 dumb. That's hilarious.
Well, you know, it gives you both sides of the same coin, doesn't it?
It does.
It
That's
does,
beautiful.
you know, but that's okay. You know, the way I look at it, I'm still but a child in the mind of the universe.
Yeah. So Wayne, tell me about your strategy. I mean, if you're not worried about bugging out, why did you buy that honey? 5 gallons of honey.
But because, you know, I enjoy living as well. I mean, listen, if the you know, the proverbial kimchi is going to hit the fan, and if I'm going to have to at least be here for it, well, I want to at least have a front row. I want to make sure I can get a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if I want one. You know?
You could actually live off just that honey if you had to.
Oh, I could. It has medicinal uses. It's you know, the great thing about honey is that it's antibacterial.
Yeah.
If more people who have digestive problems would start eating raw honey, you'd be surprised to see how well it would balance out.
Right. Somebody asked, Wayne, do you secretly bathe in honey?
If I could.
Wouldn't that be sweet? But
you know,
we have to stick together. There you go. Honey never goes bad either. They found honey in Pharaoh's tombs that you can still pull it right out and eat it.
Yeah. It's one of the most amazing what I would call from alchemy. It really is, because it's nature's alchemy.
Honey roasted vegans. Coconut oil is a really good thing too, but I believe that'll go bad, won't it?
Yeah, it will. It will go rancid.
And you can't really just eat coconut oil. I mean, you could, but
now here's something I bet most people don't realize. I learned this from a Welsh woman a number of years ago. When you get eggs, and try to get them if you can from a farmer that's not refrigerated, and cover them in I think it's hazel oil. I think if I'm right on that, I believe it is. Yeah, and I'll find out on the oil for sure on this.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special announcement. The man, the myth, the legend, the way of life, Rex Bear has entered the building.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, you cover them with hazel oil, and guess what? Those eggs will stay fresh for literally months.
Are you serious? Eggs will last for months if you cover them with
hazelnut oil. Yeah. And I'm going to make sure on that, but I believe it is hazel oil. My wife will probably correct me on this, but make sure they're not refrigerated. They can't be refrigerated. In fact, refrigerating eggs is actually the worst thing you can do for eggs. It shortens the life of them.
Are you serious?
Seriously. Yep. You know, and how do we know this?
Well, Wayne, tell me, you're telling me that putting my eggs in the fridge is a bad thing to do.
It is. It literally is.
Why does Publix or why did the grocery store keep them in the under refrigeration?
Because you're talking about a 6-week shelf life. They know that eggs are going to be cycled through. These are from what the farmers use. They don't, you know, you have to understand that in the times past, they didn't have refrigeration.
So are you telling me that I shouldn't refrigerate my eggs?
If you can get them from a farmer that have not been refrigerated, and then you clean them, they cannot be refrigerated.
But if they already have been refrigerated, you got to keep them refrigerated.
Yeah, you got to keep them refrigerated.
Well, they never last long enough for that to become an issue at my place anyway, but
see,
it's good to know.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know this, and it was one of those little things that you go, well, how would you know?
Yeah.
So how's Rex doing?
I'm sure Rex is doing great. Rex is always doing great. One thing about Rex, he's never at a loss for energy.
Yes.
And he's never at a loss for ideas. I was on with him the other day with Jenny and Heidi and Rex and me.
Oh, boy.
And I learned a lot of stuff.
It's like someone said, it's like going to college and not paying for the course.
That's exactly what it is.
You know?
Rex says, how the heck are you, Wayne?
Doing good, my friend. How's everything in San Antonio?
And Wayne says that to everybody. How the heck are you? I believe, did you and I meet through Rex?
I think no, actually, we had subscribers that were telling us that.
Oh, that's right. And I said, hey, these people are saying we should talk.
Yeah. So I found something in
I wish Rex would come on and talk about those. We could talk about those bunkers because, I see that as a pretty cool idea. Oh, he's going ghost hunting soon, so he can't come on.
Oh, well, happy hunting.
Happy hunting.
Bag that sucker.
Yeah.
Get a buck.
Exactly.
So here's something I did not realize. I got this book, and it's a really interesting book. It's called, as you can say,
The Secret Teachings of Moses, Sex, the Soul, and God in the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
Cheers, Rex.
Cheers, Rex. Happy hunting, buddy. Is he gone?
I think that was his way of saying goodbye.
Oh, okay.
A moment of silence because Rex left the building. Okay, we're back now.
So apparently having an orgasm actually opens a portal to hell.
Having an orgasm opens a portal to hell, according to that book?
According to the sacred teachings of Moses.
I don't trust Moses, Wayne. I'm sorry.
Through the orgasm, we open the doors of hell. The orgasm is how we abuse the sexual energy in Eden, the Yasod. And now here we appear in this physical world as physical vehicles of hell itself.
Can I say that they've created that to keep us from enjoying sexual magic?
That's the point.
Oh, thank you, brother. You were worrying me for a minute.
Well, no, it's the point is that it has always been that way. No matter how you slice it and dice this thing, it's all about subjecting consciousness, Jeff. That's what it is.
So did you tell me I should buy silver or shouldn't?
I would buy silver. That's actually a really good thing to do. And I'll tell you why silver's got so many other applications.
Would you buy coins?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, because they're more readily, if I give you a silver quarter, you're going to look at it, and if it's pre-1964, you're going to go, all right, that's a 90-10. If you look at it and you get a 1957, well, that's virtually about 99. You're going to say, yeah, I can dig that.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, do you have any, and this really probably can't be answered, but if we're in the post-EMP world, what do you think, what would a silver quarter get me, would you guess? Get me a chicken, 2 chickens? Would it get me a sack of potatoes?
I don't think it gets you a sack of potatoes, but I do think that it would get you, for instance, depending on, let's say, 5 or 6 meals of oatmeal.
Yeah.
And I encourage people, buy oatmeal. You can go to Costco and you can get the 10-pound bags, and then get the bags that you can get all the oxygen out, and you seal them. And that will stay fresh about for the next 25 years.
But you still got to cook it, though, right? In water?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You do.
Although you can eat oatmeal. It's pretty dry, but you can eat it.
You could. Listen.
And if you had that honey, you could put some
now you got it.
Honey without any water, and you could still survive.
We've got a couple of gallons.
While you learn how to hunt, because all you did was play video games before the event.
Yeah. We got a couple of gallons of Karo syrup. Now, Karo syrup is just basically pure cane extract. It's the molasses.
Right.
And so you mix that with raw oats, and you mix that with the honey, and we have nuts. We got peanuts. And you've got yourself an energy bar there that would literally, it's high protein, got all the complex hydrocarbons you're going to need.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is it's low glycemic, and you're going to have the energy to go on when other people's stomachs are really beginning to rumble.
And Yogic Vision says you could soak your oatmeal in rainwater overnight.
You literally could.
It wouldn't be that. I mean, it wouldn't be the hot grandma's oatmeal you're used to, but
Hey, it certainly beats eating grass.
What about this survival food you can buy from Costco and George Nori and everywhere else?
Well, I mean, listen, we've got some, and I think they're great for what I call in the intermediate times.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, a lot of those foods require water.
Right.
And if you don't have, for instance, a water filter, I recommend everyone have multiple of those. You should have at least 6 of them
Oh,
because,
what were those straws you told me about
Mhm.
that I forgot to look up?
Yeah, they're purification straws.
Yeah.
Yep. Because you can actually get to water that otherwise would be contaminated. And, you can go without food for a good 30 days. You
Yeah.
can't do water. You
That's
know,
right. You got to have water.
what most people don't realize, why most people are sick today? I'm going to
Why?
tell you, they're dehydrated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's why most people are
And I
sick.
hate to bring this back up again, but you can recycle the water that comes out of you.
Mhm. I don't recommend it. I would do it through a filter straw in a
Mm.
second. NASA's been doing it for years.
Yeah.
In fact, we just had a story here, a Texas couple.
We're not going to get into UT because Wayne obviously isn't on board with that.
um, they got lost out in West Colorado in Utah for 8 days. The husband, he couldn't go any further. The wife, she went further. Now, these people were in their 70s, and the only reason why she survived is that she drank her urine.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with that is that then you could get the kidneys become oversaturated, but in a survival situation, it kept her alive.
Quinoa in 25-pound bags.
Now, there's another one.
But that's one. I mean, how would that taste if it wasn't boiled? Well, like you said, better than grass.
Well, what we did, and here's the thing, I happen to like them, pinto beans.
Yeah.
Um,
But again, hard, they're not going to be that tasty, Wayne.
yeah, but you know what? If you're planning ahead, you do have water, and we do have water. So, um, you know,
But how
we,
long do you have to soak a bean in water to where it gets soft enough to chew it?
well, I can boil it and I can
If
have
you
it
can
cooked.
start a fire,
Oh, yeah.
if you're not afraid of somebody seeing you.
Well, that's why you carry other type of protection.
Right. But I don't care, Wayne. I mean, if I've got 10 hungry guys and it's you and your wife, it probably doesn't matter how locked and loaded you are. We're probably going to get you.
Well, I'm going to take a couple of you with me. We'll be meeting on the other side.
Who's first?
And by the
Well,
way,
you're a daisy if you do.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Huckleberry, my wife, now she's a better shot than I am.
You told me that.
Yeah, we both.
Iowa X makes a good point. Most Americans are so fat that they could probably go at least 2 months. That's about right with no food.
Well, here's the problem, and this is where we really start getting the cascading effect. Those obese people, which is now the number one disease in America, now surpasses heart disease, is that now they will actually go very quickly because most of them are diabetic.
Oh, that's true.
When they cannot keep the glycemic level in their blood, a lot of them are going to flat out crash out.
That's for sure. Wayne was making a point with the orgasm thing that religion teaches you that it's bad when it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Listen, and here's for all the guys, the thing that you have to realize is that prostate gland, it's like any other organ. It needs to be used. So think about that.
Interesting.
And today, particularly males in fact, we were just talking about this the other night, that the sperm count in American males of the breeding age, folks, if you were doing this on a line graph, we're not even getting up into the twos now.
Right. So for people that are single, are you advocating masturbation, Mr. Steiger?
Well, yeah, I am. I think that listen.
Davey says, I use my prostate quite a bit, but I digress. If
There
you
you
don't, it's use it or lose it.
go.
I take matters into my own hands. We got a lot of
Hey,
winners going, but Davey
hey,
is the best one.
there's a lot of urologists and proctologists that will tell you the problem is that that gland, once it begins to basically crystallize, it begins to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Folks, guys, you don't want that. You really don't.
Should
Uh,
I make a joke about Davey's comment and the fact that Scots wear kilts? Probably not.
well, you know what they used to say about the tribe of Benjamin, right?
No.
The tribe of Benjamin were homosexuals.
Oh, dude, how do you know that? That fits so well with my Paul
Yeah,
theology.
it was well known amongst the tribes. It was so bad, and it was in the tribal wars. It
Dude,
was so.
do you think that when Paul was saying I'm a Benjamite of Benjamites, he was saying I'm the biggest flamer of them all?
Hey, listen.
Not that there's, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you are a Pauline Christian and Paul was a noted
Listen.
homosexual, then you got issues.
It got so bad with the tribe of Benjamin that the other 11 tribes got together and sent women in there because they were just they preferred to be sodomites more than they preferred to be
Davey says that Paul was well known amongst the tribes. He was such a player. He was a Benjamite player.
All right,
Well, Neptune's like bent over. Oh, there we go. It's going downhill. That is amazing, man.
Yeah, and
I'm gonna look that up. I hope you're right, Wayne, because I'm gonna look that up.
And listen, I'll tell you where I actually learned that from. It was at Rhema.
At Rhema?
Yes.
Kenneth Hagin taught you that?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my.
It was just well known that they were.
Then how did Kenneth Hagin not connect the dots that Paul said he was a Benjamite of the Benjamites?
Well,
that would have made him a homosexual.
Listen, how did I?
This Odd group says that brings a whole new meaning to a thorn in his side. Was it in your side now?
Was it in your side? It's the God spell. Listen, I never read in Acts, the 21st chapter, when Paul was giving his testimony between King Agrippa and Felix the governor, when Agrippa said to him, Paul, you've lost your mind. And Paul went on to say how he had this vision, right, of the Christ.
He's a flaming player.
And Paul said this, and this is where
explains the woman hating.
It does. Oh, it does. Very much so.
But I thought women like gay guys.
They were good cooks. They knew how to
like hanging out with gay guys. I'm sorry, I digress. I'm ruining the whole thing. Go ahead, Wayne.
Well,
Paul, Agrippa, Felix.
In his testimony about the road to Damascus.
Right.
Now, Paul never saw the Christ. It was only a vision.
Right.
Never saw him physically.
Allegedly. And the guys it was like the Book of Mormon. Every guy that was with Paul recanted.
Exactly.
And so did the guy that went to help him out. What was his name? Agrippa?
Oh, it was
not Agrippa. Ananias.
Ananias. Yep. So Paul says that the Lord said to him,
Rocker Chick confirms gay guys are the best girlfriends.
See? Says, Paul, why are you stepping on my dick? It hurts me when you kick me in the balls. That's basically what it translated out.
Now, I thought they were talking about one of those big old things that had the ball and all the spikes on it.
No.
I'm going to have to look you up, Wayne. I'm going to have to check you out.
Check it out.
Linguistically.
Check it out. And here's the lie. Paul said, and the Lord answered me in the Hebrew tongue, my name is Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That is a lie.
It's an impossibility.
A flat out deception.
Exactly. Davey says you mean he was kicking him in his schwang?
Yeah, this is what we'd be talking about.
That's it, man. That's Scottish for you, schwang.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the whole point to this, is that we don't understand, again.
And guys, if you're thinking about playing gay, Aurora Rain says the reason why gay guys make the best girlfriends is because they won't hit on you. So there goes that plan, gentlemen.
There it goes. Here we go.
Jen says my gay roommate's the best husband I ever had.
Works too. They're clean. So in the Yahweh Wars, what you begin to find out as you read this, these tribes, they weren't exactly what you would call friendly either.
Oh, no, not at all.
They didn't get along well with each other.
So how did they all get together and decide to make an alliance with Yahweh?
It's very interesting, isn't it? I think
because I think it happened at Babel, and I think that the Hebrews sold out the rest of humanity and went on Yahweh's side, else we would have won at Babel. That's just me.
It would have to be, because here's the thing I don't understand. So you got a small clan. That would have been Joseph and his brothers, right? That were 11 of them.
Right.
So let's just say that each of them had 10 in their family pod. So that's about 100 folks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can't figure this out. 490 years, they're in the land of Egypt and the land of Goshen.
Supposedly,
where did they get all this material to know who God was? Yahweh.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't figure that out.
Yogic Vision, I think you're exactly right. I think that's who he is. Sorry, it's an American Gods reference that he thinks Odin on American Gods is Yahweh. I agree.
I think he is too.
Are you watching American Gods?
No, not. There you go.
I'm reading the book too when I can.
Enjoying it?
I'm really enjoying it. I think it's behind the scenes of what's going on in the spiritual realm right now.
I think there. Let me tell you, I'll just say this emphatically: the battle is heating up.
It is heating up.
Years ago,
the 12 tribes did have animal symbols, and guess what? The symbol of the Benjamites was
what?
Take a guess.
I don't know.
Huh?
The lamb?
The wolf.
The wolf. Oh.
The wolf in sheep's clothing was Paul.
Yeah.
The gay wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not against gay people. I got no problem with gay people. But if you say you started the Christian religion, which is super anti-gay, and you were gay, I think that's an issue.
Why is the majority of the popes all gay?
I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't care if you're gay.
And listen,
we're against all gays and be gay.
Yeah, but if you're out there promoting a lifestyle, which is a religion, and you know the hypocrisy of it, and again, it's like Pope Leo X said, from I think it was 513 to 1521. How profitable this superstition of Christ has been for us.
That's right, and that's from a pope.
You know, they know it. They know that this is a made-up story, and the problem is that it's had 2,000 years to ferment.
Yeah, Rocker Chick, I can show you from the Bible that the Christ himself said that some people are born gay. I said it. It's there. I know that's going to create a little brush fire, but I'm just telling you, Christ talked about it.
Well, I think that as I once heard it said, Rod Stewart in a documentary was talking about.
Is he gay?
No. He was talking about his friend Georgie that was killed in New York City. He actually made a song on him. And here was the thing. He said he was the kindest soul that he ever met.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of viciousness in that lifestyle, but I got to tell you what. Growing up on the street, I knew a lot of gay men. Now, I was not gay and I was never molested, but they were very kind.
You got it, Neptune.
So, you know, I'm not this is part of the bigotry that we are bred into.
Yeah. And here's the thing, guys. Everybody's all ready to point the finger. Yeah, go ahead and get those guys. Go ahead and take care of those guys. Go ahead and get rid of those guys. But guess what? It was Martin Niemöller. I always thought it was Dietrich Bonhoeffer. But Martin Niemöller said, when they first came for the gays, I wasn't gay, so it didn't bother me. When they came for the gypsies, I wasn't. This is in Nazi Germany. When they came for the gypsies, I wasn't a gypsy, so I didn't say anything. When they came for the Jews, I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't say anything. When they came for me, there was nobody else left to say anything.
That's
There's
exactly
no
right.
us. There's no them, only us, and no one's free until we're all free.
Yeah, and again, if I always thought that here's the mind coitus again. You go and you read 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 8. Love is not what? It's not vengeful.
Right.
It's not fretful. It never takes account a suffered wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through all the traits there, and if you were truly to be that way, wouldn't matter if a person was gay, purple, blue, or what. It wouldn't matter. It's what's
Exactly.
inside. What is the person inside?
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to talk about having hangups because of preferences to sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
well, good Lord, that means most of the population's got hangups.
Exactly. And this is a good point. They will execute gays in Saudi Arabia. And what does the United States do about that? I'll send Saudi Arabia some more money.
Mm-hmm. But here's the most interesting thing. Homosexuality is the vibrancy that runs throughout those cultures.
What do you
If
mean?
every culture has homosexuality, every culture. And it seems like the more restrictive you have, those leaders are the ones who indulge in it the most.
Interesting.
I mean, your former associate, look what happened to
You're talking about, I have seen
yes,
before
thank
you,
you.
my
Thank
Lord.
you. Yeah. It's happened with all of them. It happened the same thing with um Lamb down there at Daystar.
Oh, yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, and so it's replete. It's everywhere.
It
And
is. And there was a
yeah,
big pastor there in Denver area, right? Or Colorado Springs that
yeah,
got
yeah,
busted, a big anti-gay guy, and he
yeah,
got busted.
yeah. Was a
Yeah.
homosexual the whole time.
Yeah, the whole time. Or at
Yeah.
least bisexual. I mean,
And then again, so it gets all back into the head. When people start going down this road, well, then what do you start regulating when two couples, consenting adults, are behind closed doors?
yeah, that's my problem with it, man. You can't,
What
whatever
do you,
grown adults want to do, grown adults should be able to do.
it's
And then
one
you
of the,
don't want to sell them a cake because you don't like the way they have sex. That's so stupid. Come on, bunch of idiots. Bake them a cake and forget it. Why did it even come up?
what you should do is bake the cake and give it to them, and just
No,
stop all
bake
the,
the cake and charge them double. That's a double income,
well,
no kids household.
I think that, but to restrict that and to simply summarily say that no to this, you brought up a great example. I mean, I wouldn't want to have had the Star of David sewn onto my clothing back in 1929.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that at all.
Mm-mm.
Um, it's just crazy, folks. You start singling out people and you start singling out the races or the traits or the attributes, and what the problem you got?
Yeah. So
Good point.
Davey taught us a lesson. He said he was gay, so everybody started thinking, "Oh, Davey's gay." But I was very surprised that he didn't take any crap. Everybody was very supportive. But he says gay is a word that means happy. I was just making a point about putting people in boxes. So Davey pulled a little good. That was a nice lesson.
Good lesson, Davey, because I grew up, the term gay was to be happy.
It was.
We had a gay old time,
That was the Flintstones. We'll have a
yeah, the
gay
gay
old time.
old time. So,
Well, that gives you a new perspective on Fred and Barney, doesn't it?
well, it does, but that's just how we've changed. And
Oh,
and
Davey
that,
is gay. Okay, well, anyway, it was still a good lesson.
it's the fact is that we've got to get out of this. It's
We do.
not, man, I don't know if we make it this cycle through, but I'm going to make sure that if the other side, when we walk through that veil of birth, not the veil of death, the veil of birth, I just hope that I got the checkoff list right.
I do too.
I
I
don't
do
want
too.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to be sitting there going, "Oh man, I screwed up on that again." No,
Yeah.
I don't want to. Well, we certainly
Excellent
covered
stuff.
the gambit
Boy,
tonight.
we really did. We went from A to Z and then back around again.
Yeah. Well, you see, folks, that's worth the price of admission, and it was free.
It really is. No doubt about it. So that was 2 hours, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. So I hope they enjoyed it. I don't know how many was joining us today, but I hope that they, um, you know,
Well, there's 125 right now in the
that's
room.
good.
I hate to
Yeah.
leave, but it is what it is.
Well, it's been fun. That's what
So
I say.
Sunday morning, not
Oh,
your normal Sunday
absolutely.
morning show.
Yes, folks. We're going to keep it lively because this is the kind of stuff that I think we need to continue to pierce through.
And we
Jeff.
got the random Christian troll.
Okay.
Let me get rid of that.
Yeah.
Is it wrong to get rid of come to Jesus? I guess I should have let that one fly, but because he's entitled to his opinion.
He is. But, it's like this, so I was with Kenneth Copeland for a very long time. And
not in a sexual way.
No. It was just
I'm just messing around because
worked with him. But I always remember now the sign that he had on his stage, Jesus is Lord.
Yeah, he had that. Yeah. Still does.
Still does. And now that I know what Lord means, literally translates ball.
Yes.
So Jesus, who is actually Zeus, that's really where the name is. That's what you're worshiping. You're worshiping Zeus. So Zeus is
You're right,
ball.
Caroline. Zeus is ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what it means. And I see it now. I've got the movie They Live.
Yes, that was a great movie.
And it's like I'm wearing the sunglasses now, and I'm going, oh man.
Yeah, I didn't ban them. I just removed that comment. Generally, I will remove a comment, then I'll put in timeout, and then I will ban if I have to. Do you believe Kenneth Copeland was MK Ultra?
Strange story about that dude, man.
Tell us that before we go. Last thing.
Well, the whole story of Kenneth is that he started out in Texas, outside Abilene.
Abilene.
I'm always thinking of George Strait,
I divagate.
Abilene by morning.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So Kenneth Copeland is in Abilene.
So he was basically, he played a guitar in the bars.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's how he was starting out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And he was married initially. It's where he had his first daughter, Terry.
Not to Gloria?
No, there was a wife before that. She's never talked about.
He's divorced too?
Yeah.
Wow.
So Terry Copeland Pearson is that marriage. And it's not talked about. She is not talked about as well, the ex-wife. But so Gloria comes along. Kenneth is apparently he was a pilot.
Yeah, because he's got his own plane now. He flies his own 747.
Well, I helped pay for that Citation 10.
Citation 10. Okay.
Yeah, $24 million.
Oh my gosh.
So he decides.
Would you have helped Creflo get his?
No, I did not. Yeah. Because they all got citation. Ken got the first one, and then it wasn't good enough that you had a G2 or a G3. Billy Brim has got, I think, 2 or 3 jets.
Stupid, but anyway.
So
he meets Gloria before he's a preacher?
Yes.
Okay.
And they are like dirt poor, as she said. If Kenneth had basically pawned his tricycle. So Gloria is the one who gets converted.
Okay.
She's the one, because she said they didn't even have a refrigerator. They didn't have a stove. They had a coffee pot that she would cook in. And it was just that bad. She said in the summertime that they didn't have any place to put the food. And in the wintertime, they hoped it stayed cold enough to keep it outside. So Kenneth, at the age, I think he was well in his 20s by then, went up to Oral Roberts University.
Well, I went up to RU.
enrolled as a student. You can imagine that this guy, I think he was in his early 30s, really
Wow.
stood out. And it just so happened that Oral Roberts needed a pilot.
And he's a little bitty guy, right,
He is,
Copeland?
yeah. Yeah, he's about 5'2".
Hmm.
He's Cherokee, mostly Cherokee Indian. Um, so he gets on as the pilot, as a
Ah,
backup
right
pilot.
place, right time.
Yeah, for Oral Roberts. And long story short, Kenneth never graduated from ORU. He dropped out 6 months later. And this is when he got the revelation of the word of faith. And it was Gloria who actually did this. She's the one who really began to hook on to Mark 11, 22, 23, and
She's a
24.
very strong woman.
Oh, I've met her. She's a powerful force.
Hmm. Is
And
she a nice person?
I found her to be. Yeah.
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 For
Uh,
some reason, I think she would be. But I'm a person that likes strong, powerful women.
yeah.
She's
The
not
only
your typical church lady. That's what I like about her.
no, the only one I ever butted heads with was Joyce Myers. And Joyce and I were we were at the same church at Rick Shelton's church at Life Christian Center. And Joyce had just moved out of her home ministry where she had about 20 women and started the Tuesday morning meetings.
Oh my, that's way back in the day.
Yeah.
Joyce
Yeah.
is the biggest thing going now, right?
It has been. And I
Yeah.
remember Joyce and I butting heads. Now, I sold all of her tapes. Larry would do the duplication, and these women,
That's a
uh,
good question. Who names their kid Oral? We're just
yeah,
saying.
yeah. Um, with Joyce, I mean, she wanted those tapes out there, and those women would buy those tapes, $3 a pop. This was back in the early 80s, folks. And so, yeah, I mean, I've known them. I know Paula White.
I don't
Uh,
like Joyce Myers. Never did.
Well, she flat told me one day, I remember in the hall there at the church, she says, I'm going to have the largest women's ministry in the world. And she says, I will never be poor again.
Wow. Wow.
So
Did you ever meet
now,
Tiff Huck,
who?
Larry Huck's wife?
I did not know.
I
No.
really liked her too. Strong, powerful woman. I really liked her.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a thing for strong, powerful women. I'm sorry.
So that's kind of my background. When people
Interesting.
come to me, I mean, I know this Bible. I know.
Speaking of strong, powerful women, Heidi Vandenberg just showed up.
Hello, Heidi.
We had Rex and Heidi in the same night.
Wow. Wow. And it's late there on the West Coast, on the East Coast there.
It is.
So, yeah. So, you and I have similar backgrounds. And when people try to challenge me, when I tell you there is no Jesus, there never was, it's made up.
It's made up. It is
And,
totally made up.
it's hard. Boy, I mean, people cling to it because the problem is, and I get it, if you remove that part of their core being, you got a vacuum there.
You remove the whole thing crumbles.
Yeah. And that's what scares the crap out of people. Because
Yeah.
if you remove that, then I had one guy write me and he says, so who do you pray to? And I said, I do exactly what I did before. I talk to myself.
Exactly right. They're
You know,
talking to themselves. They just don't know it.
they don't know that. When you put it out there to the ether, to the nothingness, that you have a need. Now, where people say, well, you know what? I needed a new car and I was believing for one and it didn't come. And they say that doesn't work. Well, you see, you condemned yourself before you began. You never believed it to begin with.
Right.
I mean, that's the one thing I take from the word of faith, people. It taught me what faith is in here.
That's right.
And once you begin to learn that you can create the need and fulfill it, Jeff, we'll have people literally coming out in groves because they'll finally figure it out. I remember the first time I figured it out when I could actually bring in $10. I could actually do it. Now, it took me initially over a month to consistently focus in on that. And what I did is that I took a picture of a $10 bill and I put it on my bathroom mirror. So when I was shaving, that's all I saw. And I called it. I said, $10, you are going to come to me. I have a need in which you're going to fill. Well, before 2 weeks was up, the $10 came.
That's amazing.
And
Was that when you were still with Kenneth Copeland?
Yeah, yeah.
I can hear Kenneth Copeland saying that.
Yeah. And listen, Kenneth Hagin was the one that actually told me when he first believed in for his first $1 million.
Yeah.
And he turned to everyone in the room and he said, unless you can believe for one, don't even try for this.
Yeah.
Now, those were good practical wisdom lessons. And so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at it. Yeah, you can name it and claim it.
I mean, that's really just the law of attraction, right? Put another way.
Well, isn't that what Zig Ziglar taught? Isn't that what Brian Tracy taught? You know,
give yourself a checkup from the neck up.
Exactly. Norman
Vincent Peale.
Yeah. I mean, that's
John Hagee.
Hey,
I don't know about John Hagee.
I don't know about John Hagee. Listen.
Never met a Twinkie you didn't like. Did I say that out loud?
You know, what I don't like, and the reason why
don't talk about people in sin when you weigh 500 pounds. Come on.
You can't do that. You can't berate. Listen, the problem I have with all of these ministries, and listen, I wrote a mobile application for churches back in 2011. And I met with these church leaders, and you know what I left with? And I wrote this to some
a bad taste in your mouth.
Well, the head is rotten, so the body is as well.
Absolutely.
Folks, I've met these leaders.
Yeah.
They're the ones living in their homes that are paid for.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about how or what's going to be in the refrigerator or how the bills are going to be paid.
Let me say this one thing, though, about Jimmy Swaggart. The one thing I always respected about Jimmy Swaggart, and I know that Jimmy had his trouble with the ladies, but Jimmy Swaggart is to this day the best-selling gospel recording artist in history. And Jimmy Swaggart never took 1 cent from his royalties from any of those records. He took all that money, put it into his ministry. Jimmy Swaggart could get 6 cents out of a nickel. He was straight as an arrow financially. He limited himself to less than $100,000. Now his house was paid for, his cars were paid for, his suits were paid for, but the guy had financial integrity. He had some points in some other areas, but I feel like I should at least point that out.
He was a good businessman. Listen, I don't fault any of these people. If you're doing it for a business, fine. And if you happen to really believe in it, and most of these people do, they actually really do.
But Jimmy gave away millions and millions into his ministry that was his.
Yeah, and he probably had a large staff. And, you know, so listen, to me, that is a wealth creator.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I just don't like it to the fact that where if you really have to have a $24 million jet, really?
No, you don't.
I mean, I thought the whole purpose was getting the gospel. Now, will tell you, well, we can go anywhere in the world now and preach.
Wayne, don't you know that God wants to deliver you from flying first class?
Of course he does.
He wants you to fly your own damn jet. He doesn't want his servants flying first class. I deliver you from first class.
I was really envious of that Citation 10. I mean, I really was. I mean,
your God's here to deliver you from driving a Mercedes. He wants you in a Bentley, brother.
Yes, exactly. And if not one, but two.
Come on, guys. All right. It's been 2 hours and 13 minutes. We really got to go.
All right. This has been fun.
This has really been fun. For our Wayne Steiger, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower, harmless little fuzzball. Wayne is the brains. I'm just the comic relief. We're glad to have you here. It's been fun. We'll be back with you Sunday morning. Go to the R. Wayne Steiger channel. It is in the information box below. Rex Bear Leak Project, Heidi Vandenberg, Channel 27, R. Wayne Steiger, and Davey, the Davey channel. Davey's on Friday with us. Tomorrow I'm on with Jay Campbell, I believe. Excellent. So great stuff. We salute all of you for being here. Wayne, stay there. All right, stay there for 1 second if you would, my friend. And I'll probably be back before the night's over because you can't keep a good man down. Marsden Brooks, you and me, brother, all the way. See you soon. Stay fearless.
Bye-bye, folks.
Friends.